So if you deal with anxiety-related brain fog, or at least you're hoping that that's what it is, this video is for you. I dealt with that. This is going to come from an ex-anxiety sufferer with panic attacks, health anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. It made me feel like I was losing my mind. Maybe I had dementia. Maybe I was going crazy. And those were the fears that would go through my mind all the time. Excuse the cut on the nose, by the way, guys. My 1-year-old, she really got me a couple days ago. So there's that. But yeah, my fears were that I was losing my mind. When it came down to having conversations, I felt like a dementia patient. And then this made me socially anxious. I was afraid of people talking to me. I was afraid of interviews. I was afraid of getting on the phone with somebody. I was afraid of just having conversations, even with my friends who I'd known forever and I should be comfortable around, right? I had issues with my memory. I couldn't put names with faces, even people that I had known forever, or famous people, right, that we see in the world all the time. My favorite movies, I couldn't remember that sometimes. I'll give you a couple different stories, but I first wanted to mention why I think this is happening, because I know this is probably what you're wanting to get out of this video. I think that our mind is in two different places at the same time. We have the one part of our mind, right, that is focused on this conversation, or trying to focus on this conversation that I'm having with this person, or this task that's at hand, right? Like I have to do the dishes, or I'm picking up around the house, or I'm driving somewhere, or just basic tasks, right? And then you have this part of your mind that might be deeper levels of consciousness, or the subconscious. I'm not trying to play your neuroscientist over here. That's focused on the way that you feel at every moment, right? Because if you've had anxiety for quite some time, this can actually happen within like a week. It did for me. I was very symptom focused, so I was always paying attention to what I felt, what symptoms I was dealing with at the time, like my heart, or maybe a sensation in my head, and even if I wasn't having like a particular area of my body that was, that I was stuck in a cycle with, right, a certain symptom, right, I was just always body scanning, and it became such a habit that it made it so difficult to concentrate on that other side of our mind, right? So, for instance, I'm having a conversation with somebody, but the other side of my mind is like, how fast is my heartbeat? Or what's that feeling in my chest? Or what's that weird sensation in my head? Or even if you're not experiencing that symptom, you've become so focused in, you've created a habit of looking for something, constantly scanning, like, how do I feel right now? Right? With any symptom, any sensation, and even in the absence of a symptom or sensation. So basically what's happening is the percentage that you have available for the task at hand, or that conversation that you're having with somebody, drops. And for some people, very significantly. So I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody, and they're asking me about, like, oh yeah, what school did you go to? Or what's your favorite action movie? Or anything, right? I'm just giving some stupid examples. But it's hard for me to come up with that as quickly, because potentially half of my mind, if not more, maybe a little less, is focused on what's going on in my body. So it's hard for my brain to like go back to that memory, or, to figure out what they're asking me. Same thing with a lot of you. I know a lot of you have experienced this. I've seen it in the comments. I dealt with it myself. We're having brain farts, first of all, like what I talked about, having conversations, doing things. But then brain farts in a way of like, why did I come into this room, right? What am I doing here? What was I trying to, oh my God, what's going on? I'm losing my mind. I'm going to go crazy, right? Like, where's that thing that I just had? Like, oh my God, I just had it. Where's it at? These things are very, very, very common. And I wanted to kind of keep this video short and sweet and to the point. My theory is that half of our mind is focused on our anxiety symptoms, constantly scanning the way that we feel physically or even emotionally, that it makes us not as available for a conversation or a task. This makes it very difficult to concentrate at work. I remember, here's one story. Whenever me and my wife were first together, we went to a place to get some boxes, and we were going to move. and we're out there cutting boxes, and the person that was giving them to us was helping us cut them. He was being really nice, and these were free boxes, so he's very generous. And he was like, "Where do y'all live?" And I remember I couldn't think of my address. You know, I was going through some stuff, was dealing with symptoms on and off, and I was just, my head was somewhere else. It was displaced. That's a good way of wording it, displaced. And I remember just sitting there acting like I didn't hear him. Just, I'm going to cut these boxes. And something else that unfortunately happens is whenever we can't think of what we're trying to say, it gets worse. It gets even worse. So it's like there was a huge mental block. The brain fart got bigger and it got stinkier, right? Like I'm sitting there just like, oh my God, where the fuck do I live? Like hopefully he doesn't say anything to me, or, you know what I mean? Or ask to say anything again. And then eventually I probably would have been better off just not saying anything, waiting for him to ask again. But eventually it came to my mind, not the actual street address, but the area of town of where I lived. That was as far as I could get. And then shortly after I said that, and we were all just kind of talking, making small talk and everything like that, I told him like the specific area where I lived, because I was able to kind of calm down and settle down, because this can cause further anxiety in those moments, or it can send you into a full-on panic. Like, oh my God, they put me on the spot, or I don't know the answer to that question, or oh my God, and we get this blockage, and then our chest tightens up, our throat tightens up, all of our sensations come out. Oh my God, hopefully I don't have a panic attack in front of this person. I'm just giving you an example of how this can spiral out of control. But going into rooms, like wondering why I went there, freaked me out. And I had horrible health anxiety, so I was thinking that there was something wrong with my brain and that I was deteriorating up there, or maybe I had early onset dementia. And it really, really freaked me out. So if you are going through this, you are definitely not alone, okay? There's tons of people that watch this channel that comment about this all the time, and I definitely dealt with it on a daily situation, right? And it kind of made me more closed off. I didn't want to go places. I didn't want to mingle. I didn't want to go out to eat with people. I didn't want to be around people as much. And it kind of led into like a social anxiety type situation. And it wasn't like social anxiety, I guess, in a normal sense. It wasn't that I was just scared of people or being around people, but I had like a social anxiety of like, what if they say something and I can't respond fast enough? Or what if I have a brain fart when I talk to somebody? What if I can't remember something if they ask about an old time or a memory? What if I couldn't put a name with a face and it just kept happening? I felt like I would be embarrassed. So there was like embarrassment and shame that went along with this. And it's a very complex issue that I don't think is talked about a lot. So I wanted to make a video today to hopefully make you feel less alone, that it could affect all areas of your social life or just doing regular tasks. It makes it hard to be at work and do the job that you're trying to do to make your living. It was very hard for me to hold down a job. And it was because I was very, very symptom focused, just like a lot of you are. So something that I can give you, overall, you have to work on your anxiety, right? And I've talked about that on this channel all the time. There's tons of videos and tons of tips. I have a course down below in the description and in the first pinned comment that kind of walks you through that process. But something that you need to do is, first of all, be forgiving to yourself. Don't get super frustrated with yourself. You have to tell yourself, and you start your day this way, it's okay if I have a brain fart today. It is okay if I don't remember why I'm in this room. It is okay if I can't put a name with a face. I'm going through a lot. My mind is on symptoms, which I'm trying to work on. I'm very hypersensitive. I'm very hyper-focused. And that's why it's hard for me to concentrate on a task, or it's hard for me to concentrate at work. It's hard for me to concentrate during a conversation. And I sabotage myself. Some of this is just having this conversation with yourself instead of just showing guilt and shame and embarrassment or frustration to your subconscious. Because you're going to freak your subconscious out even more, and this problem is going to grow, and it's going to grow. And then you start to have things like anticipatory anxiety, right? Where like, I'm so nervous if I go to this place, that's going to happen. So you work yourself up before you even get there. Something else that you can do is in that moment, right? Just take a deep breath and just pause. You don't have to answer quickly. See, like with that situation with the address, was it a little weird, a little awkward or whatever that I kind of remained silent for like 10, 15 seconds while I was cutting boxes? Yeah, a little bit. But I was able to regather my thoughts, give them a vicinity of where I lived, and then later I rebounded and I let them know, right? And I had to forgive myself, right? And I had to say, everything's okay. I Actually, there's no forgiveness that's needed. Everything's okay. We got through it. It's going to be fine. We're dealing with anxiety. My mind's displaced, right? Take a deep breath and just sit there for a little bit. Sit there for a little bit and let it come to you. Also, there is nothing wrong with telling somebody. We get so embarrassed about this. There's nothing wrong with saying like, oh man, I don't remember. Man, I can't put that name with that face or whatever. We think that people are judging us so hard. And some of you have social anxiety in general, so this really messes with you. We think everybody is like judging us, or we think that other people are going to think that we're losing our mind or that we're going crazy as well. And that can be frustrating. People are not judging you as much as you think that people are judging you, right? So just try to keep that in mind. Another quick example of this that scared me sometimes, and I know a lot of us, even people without anxiety, experience this because it's such a habit, right? Is driving somewhere that you've been a million times, right? Or going home, and you get home and you're like, oh my God, I don't even really remember much of the trip here, because you've been in thought, or you've been focused on your anxiety or your anxiety related symptoms or your negative thoughts, whatever you're dealing with, right? It's a perfect example of how this works. You didn't remember the stoplights, you don't remember the curves, you don't remember all that. It's kind of just built into you, so it kind of helps you just kind of operate. It's a different kind of example. But you were absent the whole trip. So it definitely can happen. If it can happen when you're driving, then it can definitely happen if somebody kind of puts you on the spot with a question, or if you're at an interview and there's pressure involved. But hopefully this video helped. It's hot out here. I'm going to get back inside. But if you want more help with your anxiety, please go down below in the description. There's a lot of different resources down there. My course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp's helping a lot of people. Options for coaching, options for online therapy. Take advantage of those things, right? Take advantage of those things. But until next time, guys, keep fighting. I love you all. Subscribe if you're new. Tons of videos like this to help you out with your anxiety. I love you guys. Bye.